Hello, dear students. Today we are going to deal with the personal narrative or first person account. One of the aims of writing is expressing one's inner feelings for the purpose of recording them and understanding them better. So, here we have the definition for personal narrative. Personal narratives are a form of composition in which one describes events from one's life. They include detailed descriptions of actions, thoughts, and feelings. Dear students, personal narrative or first person account is very important because one among the 5 composition options in board examination, one is first person account. As the name tells, first person account is totally based on myself. That means the subject of every sentences or most of the sentences must be first person. It can be singular or plural. That is I. First person is I. So we have to begin the sentences with either with I or my. Even we can use the plural form we, which does not mean that you shall not use any other persons in the sentences. Depends on the meaning, you are allowed to use other persons also, second person and third person also. But the main character or the main narrator of the composition must be first person, that is I or my. It can be plural form also. Dear students, how to write this composition? And here in the definition we have seen that they include detailed descriptions of actions, thoughts, and feelings. So, dear students, when we write a first person account, we have to use all our 5 senses: what we see, what we hear, what we smell, what we taste, etc. So we have to use all the senses and we have to describe those things. For example, I'm going for a morning walk. What are the things I see? I see beautiful sunlight, dewdrops, etc. And we have to elaborate it with good adjectives. Then what I hear? I can hear the chirpings of birds, the sounds of birds, or the sounds of city, or the sounds of vehicles. Many things are there. Or then what I smell. Morning, it can be very pleasant smell. Or likewise, you have to describe the things. That is why it says that personal narrative composition is the detailed description of feelings. Whatever I feel it, I have to describe it with good adjectives. Then it is all about thought. For example, when I see an accident, I feel something and I will be thinking something. And those thinking also must be included in the first person account. And most importantly, we have to see and feel everything with our heart. The human feelings and emotions must be included in first person account. In your textbook, page number 20, one example is given, which is written about the grandfather. Today is my grandfather's death anniversary. It's an example for first person account, and you have to read it slowly and clearly and understand the composition. And there are many examples for describing the things. For example, at the last, he smiled again, called me affectionately by my nickname. So here the word affectionately is describing how he called. Or there is another example, the tears wouldn't stop and I was miserable. So that is the feeling or that is the condition of that child. So the child himself is describing about his feeling. So dear students, when you write a personal account, first person account, then you have to, first thing you have to keep in mind is that you have to write it in a first person. You have to use the first person as a subject. Second thing, mostly it will be narrating a incident which took place in the past, so that the tense will be past. But depends on the situation and context, you can use the other tenses also, like present tense and future tense also. You have to follow the rules of direct speech, indirect speech, and active voice, passive voice, tenses, subject to verb agreement. All the rules, grammar rules which we have studied must be applied in your composition. Let us analyze one question. In our textbook, page number 21, an example is given. Write personal narratives of around 250 to 300 words on the topics given below. You are a teenager now. What is your favorite childhood memory that you think you will cherish forever? Describe the memory in detail and write why it is so special. So, dear students, it's all about childhood memory. As it is a past event, you must use past tense in your composition. And it is all about your childhood. So, the subject always must be I, my, etc. Even depends on the context, you can use the plural form and the other persons also. Your composition must be divided into paragraphs. Before writing the composition, you have to make a brief list of things that you are going to elaborate. And those things must be arranged logically or according to a timeline. Then it will be easy for you to develop the composition. I will help you to develop the composition. There are two methods. One is something like a timeline. First, we have to write about the past, then present, then future. Or that means the incident must be written in an order. Correct order you have to write. Secondly, you have to ask different WH questions like how, why, who, where, when, and answer to these questions. That will help you to develop the composition. So, dear students, a logical arrangement is very necessary for your composition, as well as the correct use of tense. In order to reduce the errors, it is suggested to use simple sentences in your composition. Don't go for any complex sentences, but you write simple sentences. Dear students, before you begin to write the composition, you have to think for 2 minutes. Then you have to write down the important points, your ideas on a paper. Then you have to arrange all those ideas in a logical order. That means you have to organize all your ideas into a structure with a suitable introduction and conclusion. Then you can start writing the composition. Dear students, one of the most important steps of composition writing is that correction. As you finish your composition, you have to read the composition. Most of our students are lazy to read the composition. They never read the composition as they finish. So here, after you finish your composition, you have to read the composition, then correct the spellings and tenses. I will tell you some of the mistakes that usually made by children. First of all, they used to join the sentences using conjunction and. They will be keeping on using and increasing the length of their sentence, which must be avoided. There shall not be more than one conjunction and in a sentence. You write simple sentences. Later, as you grow up, you can start writing the complex compound sentences. Or if you're thorough with the rules of compound complex sentences, you are free to write compound complex sentences. Otherwise, kindly write simple sentences for your composition. Simple sentences means there will be only one subject and one verb, and there can be non-finite verbs. Dear students, I would like to give you the same question which we have read just before. You may write a composition of around 250 to 300 words on this topic. You are a teenager now. What is your favorite childhood memory that you think you will cherish forever? Describe the memory in detail and write why it is so special. Dear students, write down the composition in your copy itself. Have a nice day. God bless you all.